Guys, welcome to another week of youth group, and today we're going to be covering courage over compromise. So that's something that we can all probably attest to, which is going to make this probably more relatable. We got a video coming up, but I'll explain that later. So here's a question for you. Would you take a tiny sip of cockroach smoothie for 50 cents? It's just one tiny sip. No? Probably, maybe. Ben would, definitely. If it was like strawberries, vanilla ice cream, maybe some cinnamon, another type of ice cream, let's say 100 cockroaches, wouldn't you do it? Maybe for, what if I told you it was for $5 or for $100 or $2,500 or $5,000? Now it's a little more interesting. Now Megan's interested, so just one tiny sip. And I think in order to get Tara on board, we'd probably have to go for about $1 million. Okay, cockroaches are a bit extreme. What about a cup of water with a little bit of pee in it? Just like a smidge, just a smidge. But you know it's there. Now what are the stakes? You guys would probably do it, which is disgusting. But probably not for $5, maybe $100. And yeah, anyways. It's interesting how life bargains with us and tests our loyalty and tries to get us to compromise when it comes to making certain decisions. We're going to watch a video from a youth group called Switch, which is a youth group from Life.Church. It's a little bit longer than our usual videos, but it's well worth the watch.
Oh, I feel like a child. No.
Oh,
That felt so embarrassing. Oh no, I'm so professional. Supposed to be serious right now. Serious. Story time. All right out the gates. We're getting personal. Is it out of the gate or out of the gates? Right out of the gate, Switch. Getting personal. Okay, so I met this guy, right? This is a long time ago. This isn't now or anything. I would not be telling you this story if it was now. Oh my gosh. So I met a guy. A long time ago, okay? We were at a concert and the concert ended. He was hanging out by the merch table. I was hanging out by the merch table. We exchanged numbers. We texted for probably like a week, I wanna say. Like I didn't know him that well at all, but we decided to go on a date, right? So we go on a date, we drive separate cars because I ain't about that life. You ain't finna come pick me up, know where I live. You are not, no. We went to kind of a fancy place. It was kind of nice. We had dessert. It was like so sweet, so romantic. Conversation was good, you know? And so then the end of the date rolls around and so we are hanging out in his car. You know how we do on dates. Walking back to the car, get in the car, sit and talk for a while. Sun goes down, still in the car. And you know, the conversation, you know, you start using that voice that you don't use when you're talking about homework or weather or sports. It's like, it's really weird and his voice is getting all deep. Can we do an edit where you make his voice really...
His voice goes really deep like this.
And you know, he leans over and it's getting all romantic and like he's leaning over here and I'm leaning over there. You know, things are getting hot and heavy really, really fast. Like, okay. And then the moment comes, right? There's nothing left between us but the console. You know, the console, why do they even put those in cars? Like what's in your console right now? Napkins, car charger, yeah. Mine's probably has like dry erase markers in it. I can't quite do very much with the console between. He leans over to me and he says the most romantic thing. Do you want to get in the back seat? Can you do that with the deep voice? Can you do like the really deep?
Do you want to get in the back seat?
Oh! Hey Switch, what's up? It's Leslie. Tonight we are talking about courage and decision making. So I need to know, if you were in that situation, what would you have done? And guys, if the tables were turned and she said to you, do you want to get in the back seat? What would you have done? What would you do, right? And I know there's a right answer for this, right? There's the, no, I wouldn't have gotten in the car in the first place, or I wouldn't go on a date with a guy I barely know, or, you know, I wouldn't even let it get to that moment. I would just walk to my car and drive home and read my Bible and wait till next week when I can come to Switch so I can worship and praise God with my whole heart because I'm so saved. Seriously. Sure, there's a textbook right answer, but that's just not how our brains work. For instance, raise your hand if you would get in a car with a drunk driver, knowing that there's like this impending chance that you would die. Raise your hand if you would get in the car with a drunk driver, right? No, you obviously wouldn't get in the car. However, studies show that if I were to say if your friend were the drunk driver and you were in the moment, like the studies show that a lot of us would actually get in the car because our brain is like friendship, death. Friendship, death. I'm picking our friendship, and you get in the car. Like, that's literally what happens. It reminds me of that meme. What's that meme? The I can't tell if guy? Like, I love that meme. That's my favorite meme of all time. But that, basically, that's us. We're like, I can't tell if this friendship or death is, right? It's hard. And I'm not like picking on us. I'm not saying like, oh, we're dumb and we make dumb decisions. It's literally neuroscience. It's how our brains are wired. Like you have this whole part of your brain that's called the prefrontal cortex, and then this part is called the amygdala. It's shaped like this. And then under that, it's hard to explain. I think I'd do better if I could just draw it out. Come with me, guys. So this is your brain, and these are the major parts of your brain. We're just gonna look at two of them. Your frontal lobe, that's this part right here, and your limbic system, that's this part over here. So your frontal lobe is responsible for some pretty important things: complex decision making, planning for the future, controlling your impulses, focusing your attention, the ability to ignore external distractions. It's responsible for insight, it's responsible for judgment, and it's actually the part of your brain that blocks out too much risk-taking behavior, right? It's the part of your brain that says, all right, that's enough, let's chill out, y'all, we're getting unsafe, right? It's the part of your brain that stops you from saying something stupid. And this is your limbic system. It has a lot of different parts. It has your thalamus, your amygdala, your hippocampus, your hypothalamus. It's responsible for a lot of things: social interaction, fear and threat detection, emotional memories, processing positive stimuli. It basically rewards you for taking big risks. It's in charge of your fight or flight syndrome, basically all the things that kind of sum up your emotional responses to life, right? And this part of your brain is straight crazy. It loves pleasure, it loves sugar, it loves money. Guys, they actually did this one study where they gave a baby $1, and the baby was like, cool, $1. And they gave an adult a large amount of money too, and the adult was like, cool, I can pay bills. But they gave a teenager some money, and their brain went haywire, like, yes, give me money, woo, I can't wait to have more money, give me more money. And it was just a little bit of money. Guys, that part of your brain is crazy. So you're all like, cool, there's a 50-50 chance I'll make good decisions. Wrong, more science. Our brains actually develop from the back to the front. They call this connectivity, right? It's how all the parts of our brains get connected through a process called myelination. And we'll just call him Miles for short. But basically, he's just kind of slow. He can literally take up to 20 to 30 years to connect the back of your brain fully to the front of your brain, which means the last place to connect is your frontal lobe. You see the problem? So while Miles is trying his hardest to help you fully develop from a kid's brain into an adult's brain, your whole limbic system is tripping every chance it gets. All right, last thing about your brain. You know how little kids' brains pick up and learn things very quickly? Like way more quickly than adult brains? It's like why your baby cousin is way better at a smartphone than your older uncle. Well, you see, you still have that learn quickly superpower, right? That's great. It's super great. Except when it comes to addictions. You see, addiction uses the same molecular biology of learning, and therefore, addiction is a form of learning. See, teen brains can get addicted faster and stronger than adult brains, because similar to a kid's brain, it's still rehearsing and learning and being rewarded at a higher and faster rate than adult brains. Yes, so while your learning and reward system is wilding out and your judgment and planning is slowly connecting, therein lies what makes your teenage brain truly unique. And the good of it is, with your childlike ability to learn and be rewarded and get inspired, plus you're not quite adult enough to rationalize your way out of risk-taking, see, while your brain is still learning to be a good brain, you are literally crazy enough to change the world. All right. So what's the point? Why are we talking about brain science? Why are we talking about being in cars with boys? Listen, in life, you will encounter so many situations where the stakes are super high and you have to make a decision. High stakes situations, right? These are situations where your decision could cause a lot of regret when you look back and there's nothing you can do about it. Situations where whatever you decide, you can't undo. Basically, you can't repeal your decision. You can't go back and say like, oh, I wish I had not have. It's too late. You've already done it, right? Another type of high stakes situation, situations that have a lot of repercussions. You say, I'm just gonna do this one thing, but then the trickle effect like gets ridiculous snowballs and it has tons of repercussions, or even just one big repercussion that maybe affects other people. It's a high stake decision. And then resilience. High stake decisions, you have to consider like, if I make this decision, am I gonna be able to bounce back from it, right? The 4 R's, I didn't come up with them. You could actually check out this book if you wanna know more about high stakes decision making. When it comes to making high stake decisions, you always have the opportunity to choose courage to do the most right thing, or to choose compromise, to do the easiest thing, or the most feel-good thing, right? We just talked about that part of your brain that really wants to make all your decisions for you, the part that loves sugar and money and all of the really good emotions. Don't let that part of your brain make all of these high-stakes decisions. That's what we're getting at. So here's my challenge for you. In high-stakes situations, go ahead and decide before you arrive, right? Decide before you arrive. Before you're in that moment of a high-stakes situation, go ahead and make up your mind long before you get there what your answer, what your decision will be. Don't leave it up to your limbic system to make that decision in the moment, right? It's like going to a donut shop and then trying to decide that you're gonna quit eating sugar. It's like taking all of your money out of the bank, putting it in your pocket, going to the mall and saying, I'm not spending any money. No, you have to decide before that moment, long before that moment. You see how your brain works, right? It's gonna take so much more energy and time for you to make decisions with your frontal lobe. Don't leave it up to your limbic system. You can't trust it, right? Decide before you arrive. So this isn't just about decision making, right? This is about how we are living our lives as followers of Christ. There's so many high stakes decisions that's gonna put your faith to the test, right? See, we live in a choose your own adventure kind of culture, right? The world kind of just wants you to get to the moment and have to make an impulse decision, right? It's like sale right now, ends right now, you have to spend all of your money right now. Or it's like, if you don't eat this now, you don't know when you'll have this meal later, so you throw your diet out, right? This isn't just about decision making. This is about having the courage to truly follow Jesus Christ, to be fully devoted, to be completely committed, to be unwavering in your commitment to follow who Jesus says we should be as believers. We live in a choose your own adventure culture, right? That situation where the world just wants you to get to that moment of high stakes decision making when you have all the pressure and they want you to make that decision with your emotions, with your limbic system, with whatever whim you want. But the truth is, as believers, we have everything we need to choose courage over compromise. This is what Jesus says in Timothy. God's Spirit doesn't make cowards out of us. The Spirit gives us power, love, and self-control. You have everything you need to choose courage over compromise. You have everything you need to make the decision long before you get to the high stakes situation. But that's the world we live in. All throughout the Bible, people were constantly asking Jesus, like, hey, how can I live the life that I want to live and the life that you want me to live? Knowing that those two things don't always line up. Jesus always had a very direct answer for that, and this is what he said. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? That's the constant tension of our lives as believers, as people who are choosing to be fully devoted to Jesus. We are challenged to take up our cross, to carry that responsibility of following Jesus every day. So I can't tell you every high stakes decision you'll have to make in life, but there are some categories I know for sure you can decide now what you're gonna do before you get to that moment, right? When it comes to sex, when it comes to drugs, when it comes to your integrity, when it comes to standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves, when it comes to your online identity, all of these are high stakes decisions you will have to face in life. Go ahead and decide now who you will be in those moments. Okay, so back to the story at the beginning. You're on a hot date, things are getting crazy, you're in the car, in the heat of the moment, what do you do? Right? Well, to be completely honest, if I was making that decision with my emotions, I probably would have gotten the back seat. But here's the bigger picture. Here's the rest of the story, right? The summer between 8th grade and 9th grade is when I really truly decided to start following Jesus. That was the season of my life where I just made some decisions. I made some decisions about how I would live moving forward. Before I got to high school, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna have sex till I get married. And guess who's not married? Still not having sex, guys. This is terrible. And by no means am I saying that from that summer between 8th and 9th grade on, have I always made the most right decisions in every high stakes situation, whether that's physical or otherwise. But what I am saying is that because I decided long before I got to the moment what I was gonna do, I knew what to do in the moment. I knew how to make the best decision. The highest stake decision of all time, past, present, future, was made with us in mind. You see, we get a chance to see Jesus just moments before he is going to be put to death. And he's thinking about us, and he's praying, and we get a glimpse of his humanness because he prays to God, his Father, and he says, God, if there is any way this could not happen, if there's any way you could take this cup from me, that's what I would choose. However, God, your will be done, not mine, right? And so, yeah, we see Jesus in that moment, choosing not to compromise on our behalf. But we also see his whole life, where he knew why he was here. He decided long before he arrived to the moment of having to go to the cross why his life mattered here on earth, and that's for you and for me. Check out what it says in John. For I have come down from heaven to do the will of God who sent me, not to do my own will. For it is my Father's will that all who see his Son and believe in him should have eternal life. I will raise them up at the last day. Switch. Decide before you arrive. Choose courage over compromise. Have a good week.
It's pretty good, eh? She just goes right for it, and she's anyways, she makes me look like crumb. So decide before you arrive. It sounds simple, but it could be the difference between a fulfilled life and a life full of regrets. So anyways, I don't know if you guys have ever thought about that, but to decide before you arrive. It's the difference between commitment and compromise. Our entire Christian faith is a lot of compromise, and it's compromise in the sense that we have to go against our own physical urges, our own thoughts for what is going to benefit us best, and trust that God's will through the Ten Commandments, how he's speaking to us through his word, that is going to be the better way to live our life rather than what, I don't know, the billboards say or what Cardi B is suggesting we do. It's just, she makes me laugh. Okay, when's the last time you found yourself in the heat of the moment, trying to make a major decision? A decision that you could be making with a clear head and wise counsel. Instead, you find yourself up against the last minute when the stakes are already up way too high. Not a good feeling, is it? To be truly fully devoted means you've decided that there are areas in your life that you won't compromise. There are areas where no one can pay you any amount of money, fame, or pleasure to sway your decision to have integrity, to pursue purity, to put others first, to be devoted to Jesus' purpose for you. When it comes to those things, there should be no gray area. You've got to know in your heart of hearts before a high-stakes situation arises that you won't back down no matter how heavy the pressure gets. Right now, you guys are quite easy to manipulate, And I don't say that in a very like condescending, well, it does sound condescending, but it's just the fact of life. And it's like she said, like, your brains are not fully developed. Mine's not fully developed. I feel like pulled all around in all kinds of different ways all the time. But the more developed you get in your faith, the better you're going to be able to get when it comes to just blocking out the new suggestions in your life and withholding the information that you've acquired. So this is information that you're acquiring, and I hope that you'll be able to draw on this in those moments of, oh boy. Guys, it's not rocket science, but it's definitely a huge amount of willpower that gets used up. When your new hot girlfriend, boyfriend is asking you into the back seat, you got to be honest with yourself and wonder, what in the world am I going to do in that situation? So anyways, from here, we got a challenge. So some of you know that feeling of compromise. You know all too well the tension you feel in the moment when you're needing to make a decision to do the most God-honoring thing. And that back and forth dialogue starts in your head saying, there's an easy option here. Let's just do it. And then there's also a higher calling. And the easy option isn't what a fully devoted follower would do. But if that's you, I want to pray that God will give you the courage and discipline to make the right decision in that moment. There are those of you here tonight that are in a different boat. You'd say, yeah, I know right from wrong. That's not a big deal to me. I've been there. I've been that guy. You would say, you know what? I prefer to make decisions on a case-by-case basis. You prefer to dance on the line and occasionally cross the line whenever you feel like it. Physical relationships are a very, very easy thing to use as an example here, because until you make that very permanent decision that you're going to save the closest thing that you can get to heaven for when you're married to one person, then it's way too easy to just kind of like tweak it, and then you start dabbling in things and you start making bad decisions. And physical relationships are not a bad thing. They're God designed. It's a beautiful thing. The only problem is that right now in society, and for the past like centuries, it's been twisted and perverted into such a way that if you're not having sex, then you're someone that is an issue. You're a different sort of person, and that's not the way that God wanted it to be. The problem isn't that you don't know right from wrong. The challenge is that you don't want to commit. So think about that for a moment. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of training. And anyways, we'll be able to talk a bit more about it in the discussion following. We'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.